The family of the Astral Express is a colorful bunch, and when adventuring with this fascinating entourage of questionable travelers, you're always going to need someone that would brighten up your day regardless of the circumstances of life. So meet March 7th, your jovial and jolly passenger on the Astral Express. So today, welcome to Who is the Girl from the Ice? A quick dive into March 7th as a character and her lore, or hardly her lore. Anyway, disclaimer. The game's still pretty new, and March 7 is one of the characters that barely have anything on her, so a lot of this video is subjected to change in the future. Plus, I'm still testing the waters on what kind of lore videos would be appropriate, so hope you enjoy. Let's begin with her personality. March 7th is the excitable and quirky girl who enjoys all the simpler things in life, like taking pictures, plushies, clothes hunting. March 7's bubbly nature serves as an amazing contrast to the humbler personalities of the other members of the Astral Express. She's the more articulated of the bunch, quick to speak her tone, but also can get herself into a lot of trouble. But just because she's cheeky doesn't mean she's dumb. She's actually pretty versatile with her skill set. She can be quick on her toes when thinking of an attack or exit strategy, but can get short-sighted sometimes when dealing with more insightful matters. March 7's lore is surprisingly bare bones, especially when compared to the other characters. She doesn't have her own dedicated quest that answers her deeper lore questions, and we only see a glimpse of who she really is. She was sealed in a crystalline structure known as six-phase ice, something that's akin to ice but sturdier and rarer. It's a substance, and whatever it was able to keep her body in a cryostasis for an indefinite amount of time. Concealed in ice, she was floating through space when the Astral Express found her and unsealed her. Her memories, though, were completely lost to her. Her identity, home planet, and even name were erased from her mind. As such, March 7th became her official pseudonym, a commemoration to the day that she was unsealed and woke up on the Express. While on the Express, she has a bit of a hard time adjusting to what her role on the ship is. Compared to Pom Pom the conductor, Himiko the pilot, Dan Hung the guard, and Welt the jack-of-all-trades, even March 7th had a hard time explaining her role aboard the Express despite calling herself a warrior. She says that she's the champion of the crew, pushing everyone forward and always on the front line, which is pretty ironic considering she uses a bow. That's why in terms of weapon choice, she's not actually quite satisfied with the fact she uses a bow, because great warriors, according to her, don't use those. And she also believes that using an ice arrow doesn't really do anything against her ice shield, which is why she actually strived to practice a unique skill called Star-Crazing Glass Greatsword. But she never succeeded. The cryogenic power she's also holding onto is also referred to as six-phased ice, the same substance as the ice that sealed her. She can mold it into different shapes and forms, but mostly ice sculptures. Welt actually mentions that March's sculpture captured the essence of the Arahato Blade of Chaos. As for other aspects of her personality, if you know the song White Woman's Instagram by Bo Berman, I like to believe that that's a great reflection of March 7's hobbies, and the sadder fact that she lost her whole identity prior to the concealment of ice. Her hobbies of photography and clothes searching are what's given central stage in her character stories, and while most of it are quips and quirks that define her artistic side, it's also a deeper analysis into the fact that she's always had to theorize on her past lives prior to her awakening. She's a fan of taking pictures and leaving behind notes and captions for each of them, as seen in the light cone, Day 1 of my new life. We click the shutter many times without thinking. Do we do that to capture the happiness at the moment, or to capture ourselves at the moment? She understands how important memories are, and stores them, further saying that every detail matters and that if someone ever seals her again, she'll at least have her camera on her. Now we go on to the fascinating theories on who or what March 7th could be. There's not really a lot of information to really build any concrete theories on, but a part of me wants to guess that her encasement in ice has something to do with the cataclysm that happened in her home planet. Maybe Stellaron induced if we're really stretching that far. I was looking further into the concept of the rarity of the six-phased ice, and Google gave me something called Ice-6. Ice-6 is a form of ice that exists at high pressure at the order of about 1 gigapascal, and temperatures ranging from -143 Celsius up to 82 Celsius. It's also one of the inner layers of Titan, the largest moon of Saturn and the second largest in the solar system, and larger than any of the dwarf planets. Titan is primarily composed of ice and rocky material, which is differentiated into a rocky core surrounded by various layers of ice, including a crust of ice. Honestly, my problem with that is there's a really big possibility that Titan and Ice 6 are already used in the game through JARILO-6, though a counter-argument to that counter-argument is that JARILO-6 wasn't always originally an ice-based planet, just that it became that way after the freeze. So we continue on with theorizing. It's impossible to say why she was sealed, and it's really difficult now, especially in the point of the lore, but we have to consider the following story beats. 1. She doesn't remember anything. 2. The Astral Express crew has not been able to find out anything about her past, allegedly. And 3. The substance, six-phased ice, is named. One possibility is that she was purposefully sealed and sent away in ice to preserve her person when faced with the tragedy of her home planet, considering that despite the Astral Express's history of traveling and Welt's potentially encyclopedic knowledge of the space, there's hardly any information about March 7's home, which is actually pretty fascinating, for me at least. But in a universe riddled with technology and potentially internet-level sources of information and storage, I genuinely wonder why something as big as a planet can escape database navigation. Unless all information about March's home planet is purposefully erased indefinitely from the star systems of Honkai's star rail, which I don't doubt can also be an alternative possibility. If her home planet was destroyed by a cataclysm event, for example, or if it was something that affected the existence of her home planet including history, then that could explain why she herself doesn't remember anything, and why there's currently no existing records that discuss her home planet. It's also possible that her being sealed away and drifted is like a final attempt by something, or someone, to save March 7 and give her a better life. Or maybe it's self-preservation. Maybe she sealed herself in ice, considering that she's also able to wield the six-phase ice in the first place. Or maybe she's not even human. That's also a very big possibility. What if the March 7th that we know now is nothing short of a simulacrum of the original girl? Or maybe this was a byproduct of the cataclysmic event, citizens of her homeworld sealed in ice to drift away. Or maybe there's no cataclysm. She could be an ancient, depowered god for all I know. The AEONs, for example, are indeed still missing from us, so that's not completely off the table, but very, very unlikely. Though in the end of this discussion, I really hope that in the future, March 7's history is given respect, considering in a world where there's cancers plaguing the planets and godlike creatures that are currently in stasis, her not knowing where she is would make for such a fascinating story beat. And not to mention that it's already been established in the very beginning that this is going to be a pretty big thing for her. So I hope that in the future it's not like, oh, she was just sealed in ice and we accidentally left her to drift in space. Whoopsie daisy. No, I'm sure Hoyo is going to be a bit more responsible with that considering the love and care they put for their games. But that's it for me today. A bunch of thoughts on March 7th and a character who's honestly just the tip of the iceberg. She's one of the easier characters to talk about now, and the character I wanted to start with to kind of ease the channel slowly into more digestible lore pieces of Honkai. But I'm sure with each passing moment, the lore will only get more and more complicated. I'm already trying to piece together the Aeon's lore as we speak. Anyway, bye-bye!